Hi guys, Mrs. Goff here, and it's time to do some more practice with writing prompts and using the RACES format to answer the question. So today our passage is number 2, and it says, read the following passage, and our title is Elephant Talk. Now again, before I read the passage, I'm going to scroll down and look at the question because I want to know what to think about as I'm reading. So it says text-dependent analysis, question 2. Remember, engineers analyze things to find answers and explanations, and text-dependent means I'm finding the answer in the text, the words. Here we go. In Elephant Talk, the author tells how elephants share information with each other. Write an essay explaining how elephants use most of their senses to communicate. Use evidence from the passage to support your answer. Now, I don't see any question marks in that, so instantly I'm like, wait a minute, where's the question? So I've actually highlighted a signal word. Remember, our signal words are who, what, when, where, why, because those signal my brain that there's a question coming. So I highlighted the word how. I also underlined the word essay. Essay tells me that this is not a one-word answer. This tells me that they're looking for 1 paragraph, 2 paragraphs, maybe even 3 paragraphs. So I'm really going to extend or stretch out my answer to really give some details. I'm explaining why I'm choosing the answer that I'm choosing, and I'm using the story to get my answers. No guessing games. They're all the answers are in front of me. So let's reread that question, but start with the word how, because that's my signal word for a question. How do elephants use most of their senses to communicate? So I know that my senses are sight, smell, taste, touch, and smell or sight. I don't know which one I said. So sight, smell, taste, touch, and hearing. There we go. Those are my senses. So as I'm reading this story, I'm going to think about how do elephants use their senses to communicate? Here we go. Please follow along as I read Elephant Talk. Make sure you're really paying attention. Elephants live in family groups called herds. The herds move often to find new sources of food and water. In Africa, as a herd walks across the plain, the elephant makes many different kinds of noises. When elephants snort, thump, grunt, and rumble, they are talking to one another. So those noises have a purpose. Elephants, I'm right here. Elephants make more than 70 different kinds of calls. Wow. Some calls mean, here I am, where are you? Others mean, follow me for something good to eat. They also use calls to warn one another of danger and to find mates. Elephants have a strong sense of communication that helps them to keep in touch, whether they are close by or far away from each other. In fact, elephants use most of their senses to communicate or share information with each other. With sound. So here's my heading. This one's going to focus on sound. The main way an elephant talks is through sounds. Like a human, an elephant has vocal cords. This is where the sound begins, deep in the throat. Scientists believe an elephant can change its sound by moving its head and ears. An elephant can also change the type of sound it makes by opening its mouth or keeping it closed, holding its head high or holding it low, or even keeping its ears still or flapping them. The most common elephant noises are deep rumbles. These sounds are like the lowest notes on a piano. Elephants can make and hear sounds lower than humans can. Some elephant rumbles are so low that humans cannot hear them. Wow. People who study elephants use special machines to hear these super low sounds. These rumbles can even be felt in the ground. Scientists think elephants may use the soles of their feet to help hear sounds. Low sounds travel well over long distances. People can sometimes hear the low rumble of thunder from a faraway storm. In the same way, the low sounds of elephants can be heard from far away. Elephants have good hearing. They can hear the rumbles of other elephants up to 5 miles away. Low sounds help members of the herd keep in touch, even when they cannot see one another. Wow. Now, they also communicate with their trunk. Elephants have many uses for their trunks. A mother elephant uses her trunk to teach her baby. She pats the baby on the head to show she cares. She also uses her trunk to tell the baby to keep moving with the herd. Elephants sometimes wrap their trunk around each other, similar to a big hug. These actions can help individuals to bond with other elephants in the herd. Using their sense of smell, elephants can keep track of the locations of their group members. A trunk also helps an elephant make its sound louder. It trumpets to warn others of danger. Now with movement. The way an elephant moves helps it communicate. It may raise its tail or throw its trunk on its head and play. It may raise its head or spread its ears to show it is angry. When an elephant returns to the herd after it had been gone for a while, the other elephants welcome it. They turn about and flap their ears to announce they are together again. Elephants also stomp their feet to send a message. These sounds can be heard by elephants over 20 miles away. So much to say. People communicate in many different ways. They use words, smiles, frowns, and many other types of body movements. An elephant uses many parts of its body to communicate too, including its eyes, ears, mouth, head, trunk, tail, and feet. Elephants' snorts, thumps, and rumbles help them tell each other how they feel, what they want, and what they are thinking. What elephants are saying. Now they have this chart here. Remember, this is another text feature and it shows you if they're spreading out their ears, they're telling you, I'm in charge. If they're flapping their ears, they're telling you, I'm happy. If an elephant raises its tail, it's saying, I want to play. But if it swats its tail, it says, keep away. If it trumpets really loudly, it's trying to say an enemy is near. And if it raises its trunk, it says, I'm not moving. That was awesome. I learned a lot about elephants. I hope you did too. So now it's time to write an essay explaining how elephants use most of their senses to communicate. Remember, we're using our RACES format because we want to make sure that we're really stretching out our answer. And again, if I go too fast or if you want to hear something again, remember you can pause the video and go back to rehear that. Now restate the question. I'm going to state the question again. You see that prefix? So I'm going to look at it again. How do elephants use most of their senses to communicate? I'm going to say elephants use most of their senses to communicate. Okay, I'm restating that. Now it says, oh, and notice it's telling me again, that blue tells me I missed something and I missed that S, so I'm going to fix that. Now it says elephants use most of their senses to communicate. Always good to check your work. Answer the question. Now I'm going to answer the question. I'm going to give examples of the senses that elephants use to communicate. So I'm going to say elephants use sounds, because do you remember right up here, do you see that heading? They use sounds, they use their trunk. So I'm actually going to highlight this because this is where I got my answer. I'm going to show where I got my answer. You should really think about doing the same because it shows that you're really thinking about your work. So with its trunk, I'm going to write that too. I'm going to say their trunk, and I'm going to look back at the other heading. Oh, movement. Movement, I'm highlighting that one. And you know what? I remember there was a piece about their feet. They use that to hear sounds. So I'm going to highlight that because I thought that was really cool too. They use their feet to communicate, like crazy. Their trunk, their feet, movement, which we know movement is motion, right? I'm going to show off my science knowledge here. There's one more thing. I'm going to put that they use their ears too, because this is all about their ears and they're using their ears to communicate. That's crazy. So I'm going to mark that too. I think that's cool. And even their ears to communicate. Crazy. So I'm going to reread that to make sure it makes sense. Elephants use sounds, their trunk, their feet, movement, and even their ears to communicate. So cool. Now it's time to cite my evidence according to the text. Now this is where I actually give examples, okay? So I'm going to start with my first one, sound. I'm going to go up to the sound one, the sound heading, and I'm going to try to think of how they use their sound to communicate, okay? So I'm going to read, I'm kind of rereading here. An elephant can change its sound. Elephants have good hearing. I'm looking through. So I think what I'm going to do is highlight this one right here, and I'll explain why. Low sounds help members of the herd keep in touch even when they cannot see each other. So I'm going to talk about that. According to the text, elephants, oh, hang on, it's bold. Elephants use deep, low sounds to stay in, oh, hang on, to stay in touch with other elephants that are far away, because that's right in the text. Now, elephants use deep, low sounds to stay in touch with other elephants that are far away. Another, oh, there we go, another example, and now I'm going to talk about their trunk. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to look up here. Notice I have to go back to the story a lot. That's totally normal. And here's my example. A mother elephant uses her trunk to teach her baby. She pats the baby on the head to show she cares. There's my example right there. So in my box, I would put elephant moms pat their babies on their head to show they care. So that's what I'm going to have you do. You're going to type that answer and then talk about their feet, give an example of how they communicate with their feet and their movement and their ears. I want you to go through each one and give an example. That means you might have 4 or 5 examples. Every time you do, say another example or another way elephants communicate. I'll put that, another way that elephants communicate. Okay, these are things that you need to say. So I'm not going to finish this box. I'm going to have you do that. So you're going to have quite an answer here. It might be long, and that's okay, which means I'm going to cross this box off because you're going to explain your thinking in here this time. Sometimes that happens. So pause this video and really dig deep. Stretch out this answer. Give 4, 5, maybe even 6 examples of how elephants use their senses to communicate. When you're all set, come back so we can talk about the in conclusion section. All right, so you should have these 3 boxes filled out, and now we're talking about the in conclusion. So we want to sum up our answer in one sentence. So I'm going to say, in conclusion, elephants, like humans, have senses that they use to communicate with other elephants. Now there was one more I wanted to add because I saw this. They communicate in many different ways. Okay, I'm just going to leave it, but I wanted to double check something. So here's where I'm ending with. In conclusion, elephants, like humans, have senses. I'll even say have many senses that they use to communicate with other elephants. And that's my answer. So again, just like last time, I'm going to do Control C and place it right down here, Control V, and do that again with my second one, Control C, Control V, until I have all of this in a nice paragraph. I want you to do that because I want you to be able to see the whole answer in one paragraph. Once you've copied and pasted your entire answer and double checked your work, you can hit submit and move on to your next assignment. Great job.